The summer sun had no mercy in Black Ridge. It pressed down on the town like a hammer, turning the air thick, heavy, almost impossible to breathe. Dust clung to everything, the streets, the buildings, even the people. Black Ridge wasn't a place you lived. It was a place you survived. And Mean Xiao was barely surviving. At 22, she moved like someone twice her age. Not slow, never slow, but careful, controlled, like every step had been calculated, just to keep going. Her dress clung to her back with sweat. Her hands, raw and cracked, still trembled from the morning's work. But she didn't stop. She couldn't afford to. There goes the China girl, scurrying like a rat. Laughter followed her down the street. Sharp, ugly, familiar. Mean didn't look at them, didn't react, didn't give them anything, because she had learned the moment you show pain, they enjoy it. The laundry hit her like a wall. Heat, steam, the smell of lye soap burning the air. It felt like walking straight into hell. "You're late." Mrs. Kowalski didn't look up. 3 minutes. Mean lowered her head slightly. It won't happen again. Her hands sank into boiling water. Pain shot through her fingers. Sharp, immediate, but she didn't flinch. Scrub, rinse, wring. Repeat. Again. And again. And again. 12 hours. Every day. Until her skin split open and the soap burned into the wounds. By the time she left, it was midnight. Her hands were bleeding, her back screamed, her vision blurred at the edges. But she didn't go home. The saloon was alive. Loud, chaotic, full of men who had nowhere else to be. And Mean walked in through the back. Because this was only her second job. "You're late." Rosie's voice cut through the noise, strong, commanding, but not cruel. "I'm here." Mean grabbed an apron. "What do you need?" "Everything." Potatoes, meat, dishes piling faster than they could clean. The heat here was worse than the laundry, but at least no one laughed at her. "You look half dead," Rosie muttered. "I'm fine." Liar. Mean didn't answer, because if she started talking, she might not be able to stop. 3 jobs, no sleep, 1 meal a day, and a debt that kept growing, no matter how hard she worked. $57 every month. Or she loses everything. Her home, her father's memory, her last piece of stability. And the worst part? Even working herself to death, she was still losing. Because in Black Ridge, effort didn't save you. Hope didn't save you. And no one was coming to help. But that was about to change, because somewhere in that saloon, someone was already watching her. Saturday night in Black Ridge was something else entirely. The saloon overflowed with noise. Miners, cowboys, drifters, men with too much whiskey and nowhere to go. The air was thick, smoke, sweat, and something darker, something dangerous. Mean moved through it like a shadow, head down, eyes low, breathing steady, tray in her hands, balance perfect, movements precise. She didn't belong here, but tonight she had no choice. Keep your head down. Move fast. Don't make eye contact. Mean followed every rule, because in places like this, rules kept you alive. Then she felt it, that shift in the air, the kind you don't hear, you feel. Someone was watching her, not casually, not like the others. This was focused. Mean didn't look up. She kept moving, because attention, especially here, was never good. She turned and slammed into something solid. Well, now. The man in front of her was massive, broad shoulders, heavy gut, face carved by too many fights and too much whiskey. His hand shot out, grabbing her arm. Hard. Ain't seen you before. His breath hit her face, rotten, burning. Pretty little thing like you shouldn't be hiding in the kitchen. Mean's body went still. Not frozen. Controlled. Let go of my arm. Her voice was quiet, even. The man grinned. Or what? The room shifted, not silent, but aware. Men were watching now, waiting, because this was entertainment. Men didn't pull away, didn't struggle, because she knew if she did, he'd only tighten his grip. So she repeated, "Let go." "I believe the lady asked you to let go." The voice came from behind them, quiet, calm, but it cut through the noise like a blade. The man's grip loosened, just slightly. Enough. Men pulled her arm free and stepped back. The stranger was still sitting, not standing, not raising his voice, just watching. Late 20s, maybe early 30s. Lean still. Eyes like cold sky before a storm. "This ain't your business," the big man snapped. The stranger took a slow sip of whiskey, then said, "I just made it my business." No shouting, no threats, but something in his voice made the room lean toward him. The big man hesitated, just for a second. Then he spat on the floor. "Not worth it," and walked away. The tension broke. Laughter resumed. Cards slapped tables, like nothing had happened. But men knew better. Everything had just changed. "Thank you." She kept her voice steady. The man studied her, not like the others, not hungry, not cruel, just observant. "You work here?" "In the kitchen." "I figured." A pause. Then, "You're working too hard." The words hit harder than they should have. Mean's eyes sharpened. "That's none of your concern." A flicker of something, respect maybe, crossed his face. "3 jobs," he said. "No sleep. Barely eating." Mean went still. How do you... I pay attention. He leaned forward slightly. Problem is, you can't win like that. A pause, heavy. Then, I'm going to make you an offer. Everything in Mean tightened, because offers never came free. I don't... Not that kind. His voice sharpened slightly, like he already knew what she was thinking. I need someone. A housekeeper. Cook. Manage the place. One job. $75 a month. Silence. The number didn't feel real. It hit her like a blow. More than all 3 jobs combined. What's the catch? His eyes didn't leave hers. You leave this town. You come work at my ranch, 15 miles out. Another pause. Just you and me. No neighbors, no protection, no witnesses. Mean stared at him, because suddenly this wasn't just an offer. It was a choice. Stay and slowly destroy herself, or leave and risk everything. I'll give you until tomorrow, he said. Come see the place. If you don't like it, you walk away. He stood, dropped coins on the table, and without another word, walked out. Mean didn't move. Her heart was racing, her hands shaking. Because deep down, she already knew. This wasn't an opportunity. It was a gamble. And tomorrow, she was going to decide whether to take it. Mean didn't sleep that night. She lay still, eyes open, watching shadows crawl across the ceiling. $75. The number kept repeating over and over and over again. 75 meant freedom. 75 meant she could finally breathe. But 15 miles into the desert with a man she didn't know? That wasn't freedom. That was risk. And Mean had learned risk usually meant pain. Black Ridge didn't forgive mistakes. It punished them. But staying was killing her anyway. By dawn, she had made her decision. The next morning felt different. Not easier, just sharper, like every second mattered. At the dress shop, her fingers moved automatically. Thread, stitch, pull, repeat. But her mind was already somewhere else, 15 miles away. "You're distracted," Mrs. Thornton's voice cut cold. Again. Mean didn't look up. "I'll fix it. You'll redo it from the beginning." The stitching was perfect. They both knew it. This wasn't about work. It was about control. Something inside Mean tightened, because suddenly she could see it clearly. This was her future if she stayed. Endless work, endless humiliation, endless survival with no way out. And for the first time, she felt something stronger than exhaustion. Anger. At noon, she walked into the laundry. The heat hit her again, same as always, but this time it didn't feel normal. It felt unbearable. "I need to leave early today." Mrs. Kowalski didn't look up. "No, just 2 hours. I'll make it up." I said no. A pause. Then, you think you're special? There are 10 girls waiting to take your place. Something snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. Mean straightened, looked at her, and said, "Then I quit." The room froze. "What?" "I quit." Her voice didn't shake. "I'll take my pay. You'll take nothing. You walk out, you lose the week." $7. A week of pain. Gone. Mean held her gaze, then said, "Keep it," and walked out. Her heart was pounding, her hands shaking, because she had just done something irreversible. If the offer wasn't real, she had just destroyed herself. But she kept walking, didn't stop, didn't turn back, because for the first time, she wasn't reacting anymore. She was choosing. He was already there, leaning against a wagon, waiting. When he saw her, he straightened slightly. "You came." "I came." A beat. "I quit the laundry." "If this isn't real, I've just made the biggest mistake of my life." He studied her, then nodded. "It's real." He stepped aside, gestured to the wagon. "Come see for yourself." Mean looked at it. The road ahead. The town behind her. Everything she knew on one side. Everything she didn't on the other. Then she climbed in. And just like that, Blackridge started to disappear behind her. And Mean Shao had no idea she had just made the decision that would change everything. The town disappeared faster than Mean expected. 1 mile, 2, and Blackridge was already nothing but dust behind her. Out here, there was no noise, no shouting, no laughter, no judgment, just wind and space, endless space. Mean sat still in the back of the wagon, hands tight around the small bundle in her lap. Everything she owned fit inside it. "You're quiet." His voice broke the silence. "I'm thinking." "About what?" "Whether I just ruined my life." A pause. Then, "That's fair." He didn't laugh, didn't argue, and somehow that made her trust him more. The land began to change. Less dust, more green. Low hills rolling outward, patches of grass, trees clustered near a narrow creek. It was still harsh, still wild, but it was alive. Mean leaned forward slightly. "Where are we?" "My land." The words were simple, but they carried weight. Cattle dotted the fields. A barn came into view. Then a house. Solid, 2 stories, built to last. Mean blinked, because this wasn't what she expected. This wasn't some broken shack in the desert. This was a life. The wagon rolled to a stop. "We're here." Mean climbed down slowly, her legs stiff, her heart racing. Because this was the moment. No more imagining, no more guessing, just truth. She stepped inside and stopped. The house was a disaster. Dishes piled high, dust on every surface, floors uncleaned for months. The air smelled stale, forgotten. Mean looked around slowly, taking it in. This is your house? Yes. A pause. I've been busy. She almost smiled. Almost. She walked through the rooms. Kitchen, living space, upstairs. Each one told the same story. A man who had stopped caring. At the end of the hall, one room felt different. A cradle in the corner, dust-covered but untouched. Mean didn't step inside. She didn't need to. She understood. When she came back down, he was waiting, watching her, carefully. Well? Mean didn't answer immediately. Instead, she ran her finger across the table. A clean line cut through the dust. This isn't housekeeping. This is rebuilding. A small nod. I figured you'd notice. Mean turned toward the window, looked out at the land again, the space, the silence, the possibility. $75. No rent, no food cost, time to sleep, time to think, a way out, but also isolation, risk, him. If I say yes, my room has a lock, he answered before she finished. Your pay is fixed. No conditions. A pause. I'll put it in writing. Mean turned back to him, studied his face, searching for something. A lie? A trap? Anything. But she didn't find it. Why me? You didn't break. The answer came instantly. I've watched people in that town. They either give up or they turn bitter. You didn't do either. A beat. You kept going. Something in her chest tightened because no one had ever said that to her before. When do you want an answer? Now. A pause. Because suddenly there was no more time, no more delay, just the choice. Mean took a breath, looked around the house again, then back at him, and said, I'll take the job. Something shifted, not loud, not obvious, but real, because in that moment, everything changed. What Mean didn't know was that this wasn't just a job. It was the beginning of everything she was about to become. The first few days were the hardest. Not because of the work. Mean knew work. Work was simple, predictable, honest. But this place, this silence, this space, it felt unfamiliar. No shouting, no footsteps outside her door, no one watching her. Just the house and her. For the first time in months, she could breathe. And she worked. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Dishes, floors, windows. She attacked the house like it had wronged her personally. Day by day, the dust disappeared. The air changed. The place started to feel alive again. Caleb noticed. He didn't say much. He wasn't that kind of man. But sometimes she'd catch him standing in the doorway, just looking at the clean table, the organized kitchen, the house that didn't feel empty anymore. "You've been busy." "I've barely started." A pause. Then, "This is the cleanest it's been in years." Mean didn't answer, but something inside her shifted. Because for the first time, her work wasn't survival. It mattered. Weeks passed, and slowly something else changed. Not just the house, but the space between them. They spoke more. Short conversations, simple things, food, work, weather. But beneath it, something unspoken kept growing. Then one night the sky changed. Dark clouds rolled in fast, heavy, violent. "This is bad," Caleb muttered. "Stay inside," he said. "I'll check the barn." Before she could answer, he was already gone. The storm hit like a wall. Rain slammed against the windows. Wind howled through every crack. Lightning split the sky, followed instantly by thunder. The house shook. Minutes passed. 5, 10, 15. He didn't come back. Something cold settled in her chest. Not fear of the storm, fear of something worse. Mean grabbed his coat, opened the door, and stepped into the storm. The wind hit her like a force. Rain burned her skin. She could barely see. But she kept moving, because now this wasn't about the job anymore. She found him in the barn, fighting to calm the horses. Part of the roof had collapsed. Wood splintered. Rain pouring in. "What are you doing here?" "You didn't come back." "Help me!" That was all he said, and she did. They worked together, dragging the horses to safety, fighting panic, fighting the storm. At one point, a hoof missed her face by inches. Another hit her ribs, hard enough to steal her breath, but she didn't stop. Finally, it was done. The horses were safe, the barn still standing. "You're hurt." "I'm fine." She wasn't, but it didn't matter. He grabbed her arm, pulled her back toward the house, not gently, but not rough either, just certain. They stumbled inside, soaked, breathless, shaking. "Don't ever do that again." His voice was low, but it carried weight. "You could have been hurt. You could have been dead." The words slipped out, raw, uncontrolled. He froze, looked at her, really looked at her. "You were worried about me." She didn't answer, didn't need to. For a moment, the storm outside didn't matter, because something had changed. Not just the house, not just her life, but them. And for the first time, Mean realized this wasn't just a job anymore. This was something far more dangerous and far more powerful.